A smart person will look at the current YouTube, Twitter shitstorm that is happening between the atheist and trans community and back away. A smart person would keep their mouth shut, their heads down, and hope it blows over. Growing up, my dad used to say he was writing the world's shortest book, and that every day my brother and I were making it shorter. It was going to be titled The Collective Wisdom of My Two Sons. I ran for office when no one else did, as an openly trans candidate, the first in Florida. It probably wasn't the smartest thing, but I did it because I felt like it was needed. I spoke up to my family in defense of Muslim immigrants, came out as atheist, trans, and a Democrat, knowing the smart thing would be just to hide. It cost me my family, but I did it anyway because I felt like it needed doing. I feel like this needs doing. Forward, the Light Brigade. Charge for the guns, he said. Into the valley of death, road to 600. There is not reason why. There's but to do and die. Into the valley of death, road to 600. Boldly they rode and well, into the jaws of death, into the mouth of hell, road to 600. Reeled from the saber stroke, shattered and sundered. Then they rode back, but not to 600. Charge of the Light Brigade, abridged, Lord Alfred Tennyson. And Caesar's spirit ranging for revenge, with ate by his hide, comes hot from hell, shall in these confines with a monarch's voice cry havoc, and let slip the dogs of war. Julius Caesar, Act 3, Scene 1, William Shakespeare. Hold my beer. Florida man.
So gender is just a social construct, and believing in God is a crutch. When you mix them together and give them a whirl, what do you got? Atheist T-Girl!
Hello everyone, it's Atheist T-Girl. No fun day of the week this week. I am going to be putting out my video a lot earlier for this coming week because tomorrow's my birthday. Happy birthday! And I don't want to spend all week trying to think about it and worrying if I'm doing the right thing or wrong thing. I just want to do it and get it done. So, with no further delay, in 2006/7, the Marvel comic books had a series called Civil War. You may have seen the movie. I think a few people did. It was a year-long story containing about 100 issues once you count all of the tie-ins. For those of you who are not geeks in the room, let me give a short, very high-level overview. After a group of young, inexperienced heroes kill a school of children, the public cries out for a change of how superheroes work. Soon there are two sides of a battle brewing, both led by two people who thought they were doing the right thing. And honestly, at least in the beginning, they were. Iron Man saw that if superheroes continued as they had been, eventually the people would rebel and rise up, forcing the government to hunt down and kill superpowered individuals. He backed a government mandate for heroes to be registered and trained. Captain America, having lived through a generation where he saw a government become evil beyond belief, the Nazis, was worried about giving the current government that much information and power over the heroes. He foresaw a time when the government might use the information to force heroes to act on the government's interests, even if they went against the heroes' morals. Plus, when you see how easy it is to hack our voting machines, do you really want the same people guarding your secret identity? Both heroes ended up causing a divide in the Marvel Universe that took years of trust and work to fix. It was one of the rare times a comic showed an event with an aftermath that wasn't gone within a few issues. And for who was ultimately right? Well, the authors eventually had one of the heroes turn slightly evil because they realized they had set up a quandary where there was no easy right choice. Enter into this event Spider-Man. Spider-Man has always considered himself the neighborhood hero. Despite hanging out with the Avengers, being to other planets, and once obtaining god powers, he still felt that he wasn't the hero to fight the big fight. Instead, he is the one to be there to catch the purse snatchers, the small crimes people overlook. And during the course of the story, he at different parts of it supported both sides, and in both cases made a large change beyond what he was comfortable making. I, am Spider-Man. No, I don't mean I swing from walls, catch criminals, drink the blood of evildoers. I mean, I find myself in a similar situation. And if you want to say I have delusions of grandeur, go ahead, as my low self-esteem needs a boost. I am a small channel, very few viewers, and at this point, I don't think I'm big or well known. However, I have found myself on the Twitters and friend lists of both people on both sides of this divide, and surprisingly not blocked by either. Let's see how long that happens after this is posted. And I see myself seeing good and bad on both sides. Are you ever going to talk about rationality rules, Rachel Oates, and Essence of Thought, and how all of this is Hush, Velveteen. If I tell them everything now, they won't watch to the end, and I think the journey to the end is important. I will say this, and sorry to belabor the comic analogy, unlike the Civil War comic, I don't think there's a clear winner, good person. But like the series, I feel no matter what, it'll take years to build up trust and friendships again. Let's start our journey with an easy question. Was Hitler racist? I'm sure there were people at the time who thought otherwise, and a few now still do, but currently Hitler is top in line for That's Racist award. Most people have no issues with calling Hitler a racist, and those that sprout his propaganda as being the same. Trump, is he racist/ableist? We have him on video talking about people from Mexico being criminal by default and good people sometimes. Another video shows him mimicking the spastic jerks of a reporter, Sergei, and I'm sorry, Kovaleski, who has arthrogryposis. Seemingly another easy case. But according to the Quinnipiac University poll done on July 31st, 2019, only 51% of the American voters think he is racist. It stated that about 45% of the people thought he wasn't. Of course, the rate changes depending on what race the person is, their political position, and even gender. Do you feel he is racist? Do you have friends who think he isn't? Do you not speak to them over it? Okay, here's a harder one. Is Steve Anderson of NIFB fame racist? Yeah, there's no doubt he's homophobic. He's a misogynistic jerk. He's a transphobic bigot. He's a bad person, but is he racist? So far as I have been able to determine, he has not said anything or acted in a way that would portray him as such. Does this make him an okay ally for race relationships? Let's get to the really juicy question. Was Mr. Rogers racist? It's a beautiful day and illegally stinked from a neighborhood apartment complex. It's a beautiful day and illegally distinct from a neighborhood apartment complex. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? Hello, children. It's nice to see all of your smiling faces. The good news is that we've managed to convince that family from Africa to move away, which is good because, insert your own racist statement here, I am uncomfortable stating one even for this little bit I'm doing. And Shelly won't be coming around because she has 2 mommies, and we made sure they knew not to allow her to come. Billy? Why are you playing with a doll instead of a truck? Of course, this wasn't an episode of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, but I do have something to say about Mr. Rogers and race that's not complimentary. Sorry, dude. I love you. Mr. Rogers is known as a pioneer for race rights with his show. Included a black officer in the first season dunking his feet in the same wading pool at a time when pool segregation was a hot topic. He included Hispanic and other nationalities as his show went on and included black leaders in his puppet neighborhood. But one thing he never did show was an interracial marriage. People might reflect on this and think it was just an overlooked aspect, as we can't do everything in our allyship. But it was a deliberate choice. Mr. Rogers thought that a mixed-race marriage was too controversial for his show and would cause damage, causing the message he was trying to get out there to not reach as many people. Please note, I'm not saying he thought mixed marriages were wrong. It was he was more afraid of what would happen if he did show it. So, was Mr. Rogers racist? Was his less than perfect allyship an issue we should use as a reason to put him down or distance yourself from him? Before I go into the crux of my questions, let me tell you of a story. I have a very close friend who has spent her whole life in a wheelchair. I asked her for a story about a time when she had someone or something ableist happen to her. She sent me this picture. She goes to local high schools often to watch a family member play in a marching band, and on this occasion she went to a field and found an issue. Do you see what it is? The fence and the bar that holds it up are just about waist high. They put up a protective measure that's right at the eye level of my friend. She can't go to a higher level because of steps to get a better view, so when she goes to the field, her view of the event is a metal bar that covers most of the scene. The bleachers have accessibility ramps, they have great parking, they do so much for those who have disabilities, but they fail at the last stop. They have met the ADA compliance rules, but they haven't quite made it accessible. Are they ableist? Another story I have about this came from the church she and I attend. It is a United Unitarian Church. Maybe I'll talk more about it one day. The people there are the most inclusive and most loving I have ever met. It gives me a place where I can work on my anger against religion, yet have people who will remind me that there are still good people inside those religions. She is part of their worship team and often is up on the stage helping. I have had to watch her fight against everyday microaggressions at the church. At one point, there was a ceremony where congregants put stones in sand. But until I got up one day and moved that container, for years she was unable to actually see the place she was putting her stone in, as it was higher than her sightline. At another time, I've seen her argue with people over lyrics and music that the church had picked because they were written in a way that assumes everyone stands and walks. Even the call to singing, "Let us all stand for the music," has been an issue she has had to fight to get changed. Does that make my church ableist? Are the people who had to be taught how they hurt others unworthy of the love I have for those who are in my church? No. I've spent the last 15 or so minutes teasing around the hole in the center of this topic. I think it's about time to stop teasing and thrust fully into the issue. It would be an understatement to say that the video produced by an atheist content creator a few months ago sent some ripples to the atheist community. I am not going to go into a whole story or the back and forth. I don't have the will or spoons to do a whole blow-by-blow narrative of it. RR released a video about trans people in sports. My opinion of the video is that it contained numerous microaggressions or possibly full transphobic statements about trans women. And before someone in my comments says, "But the science," I will state that I fucking don't care about the science. RR could have made a completely scientifically accurate video about why trans women would not compete, and I would still call it transphobic. Not because of his conclusion. If science supported his conclusion, it would need to be my mind to bend around the truth, not bend the truth around my mind. Instead, I say it's transphobic because of the packaging around the science. Part of it was him using clips from Joe Rogan, a known transphobic asshole. And this was worse with the usage of a clip with the term, "We can keep women from being beaten up by men." Yes, there could be a way to look at this as him talking about winning in sport, but putting it as being beaten up by men implies that trans people are violent to cis women in sports. Note, I have not seen the whole Rogan video. If his video was completely about boxing and MMA, then I understand the context, but still referring as the trans athletes and boxers as men was a transphobic trash statement. Beyond the use of Rogan, I think there are two places that RR went beyond the line of investigator of the science and into a personal statement that were wrong. Number one, unless quickly rectified, this will kill women's sports. Notice he states quickly here. This imposed sense of urgency is a trick of speech that people use to get a change made. We humans are really terrible at long-term issues. Look at climate change. It could destroy humanity as we know it, yet people are willing to ignore it because it's a slow, long off away issue. We do the same with smoking. We know it could kill us, but continue to do so because we don't see the immediate downside. I'm not immune to this. I know my weight is an issue and I will shorten my life from it, but I'm running the script while eating McDonald's. RR putting this sense of urgency into an issue that could take time to be studied is a way of pushing for action now. He didn't call for more work or looking into the subject. He said it had to be fixed today. When you push away time for reflection and study and call for action at once, you're looking to gather a mob of emotion, not a change caused by people seeing issues and working to fix it. Number two, I don't want to see the day when women's athletics is dominated with Y chromosomes. I don't know if RR did this unwittingly or in the attempt to sound smart, stumbled on it, but this type of language about trans women is the exact type trans women like me have to face. Referring to the Y chromosome is a way to point out that a trans woman is not really a woman, but instead a man, which we know because of the Y, and a dress is a way of othering us from cis women, and it is quite often used by people called TERFs, trans exclusionary radical feminists. By copying this language, RR is appealing to these people and giving them ammunition. Is RR transphobic? Well, this video is, but the person, I don't know. I've dealt with transphobia enough that when I encounter a transphobic content, I don't spend the time to look at the other person's body of work and do a nuanced study to see if it's just this one thing or if they are showing a pattern. I just tend to block and move on. If I did it the other way, I would spend all my time judging people on how transphobic they are and if they somehow reached that point where it is too much. Does this mean that in no time I will ever take him off my list? Maybe, but it depends on him. Humans change. If I was into social media a decade ago, as much as I was into it now, there'd be videos and posts of me saying quite homophobic and transphobic things. Go back 20 years and you would see, despite having a last name of Garcia, I had feelings about Hispanic people that still upset me today to realize I had. I have seen his apology and I know about his donation to trans charity. Maybe in a year or so I will look at how his channel and Twitter are, and if he seems to have really learned, or if they were just an attempt at damage control. What about people who are on his side? At this point, let me remind you that this channel is called Atheist T-Girl. It is not called the one person who gets to decide how everyone should act towards trans people channel. I personally divide them into two categories. A, those who state he was right in his science, that his videos were not transphobic, and who want to use it as a call for exclusion of trans women. I found this group to be full of people who themselves have said or done transphobic things, and who have no issues writing off. B, those who have told RR that the video was transphobic, but who, as a whole, have still supported RR in his channel and life. This is a bit harder for me to cleanly shake the dust of my shoes off at. I will not name names. If you think you know which creators I'm talking about, good for you. Maybe you're right, maybe you're wrong. I feel that as a group, they were too lenient on RR. Some of them have since then said that they were and have offered apologies. Personally, again, this is the Atheist T-Girl channel, I take them on a case-by-case basis. What I can say of this group is that I am more wary of them. I have less trust than I did before, and I'm more likely to be critical of what they say in the future. Is this unfair? Maybe it is, but it's me. So finally, what about the other side? Those who stood up for trans rights. Those who spent hours debating against the RR side and who made videos pointing out the issues. How do I view them? Again, I want to say it's a case-by-case issue. I support fighting for trans rights, and I rarely will ever speak up against someone who is doing it. I am the same for racism, ableism, and other phobias and issues people have against groups of humans. Being quiet when someone goes after us is the first step towards being on the wrong end of society, cast out. Can people go too far in this? Of course they can. Have people gone too far? I don't know. I've largely pulled myself out of the debate. I have an issue where once a conversation goes beyond 3 replies on both sides, I just drop it because at this point no one is going to be changed and it will just get ugly. There have been statements on both sides that have reached the ugly stage, and I'm refusing to get into it and state which side is uglier or which side has crossed the line. Like I said at the beginning, there are no easy answers in this issue. I can't give you a guide of this person is good, this person is questionable, and this person avoid. And even if I did, it would be my opinion and mine alone. And in a case like this, I really don't think my opinion should be the standard that everyone uses. I'm going to be here making my videos. I'm going to be posting tweets. I will fight for LGBTQIA+. I'll fight against racism. And I'll point out the folly that religions make. I will be a bit of a SJW if you insist on using that term. I am willing to work on this with others even if they aren't perfect because I myself am not. I would like to see the whole issue go away. I'd like to stop seeing people reposting block notices either in sadness that it happened or as a badge of honor. Who knows, after this video is put up, I might end up on those block lists for both sides. I want to see us get along, but I know why this can't be, and so I suspect it will be years until this wound is healed. So who am I? I am Spider-Man. Oh, no, wait. I'm Atheist T-Girl, and I'm going to do my best to help others. Atheist T-Girl, out.